You've flown for 18 years. Storms, engine failures, near misses over open ocean. None of it prepared you for this. 31,000 feet. Cabin pressure dropping fast. And on the flight deck floor in front of you, one parachute. One. For a plane carrying 6 people who are about to find out you can only save 5. You have 4 minutes before the aircraft loses structural integrity completely. 4 minutes to decide who lives, who dies, and whether you can live with yourself either way. The radio crackles, and a voice tells you the storm didn't just damage the fuselage. It clipped the cargo hold where the rest of the emergency gear was stored. This was supposed to be a routine private charter. Now it's the worst decision of your life. You think you know how you'd choose. You don't. Not until the 5 faces behind you start looking at you like you're already God. You pull up the passenger manifest because you need facts, not feelings. 6 souls on board. Yourself included, but pilots don't jump. Not when the plane still has a chance of gliding. Not when 5 other people need you calm at the controls until the very last second. So really, it's 5 names staring back at you. A father flying home to his newborn daughter. A surgeon who saved 12 lives last month alone. A 22-year-old flight attendant on her 2nd week of the job. A retired engineer who built half the bridges in this state. And a teenage boy traveling alone to see his dying grandmother one last time. Every name is a reason. Every name is also a countdown. You radio air traffic control, hoping, praying for a miracle answer. Maybe there's a lower altitude where you don't need the parachute at all. Maybe you can nurse this bird down before the wing fully gives out. The response comes back grim. Structural failure imminent. Evacuation is the only survivable option for anyone not staying with the aircraft. That means someone has to jump. And only one parachute means only one person survives the fall. You think that was the hard part, realizing you have to choose. But level 2 is where you learn the plane can't wait for you to be fair. The father is the first to reach the cockpit door. He doesn't ask, he begs. He has a photo of his daughter, for days old, still in the hospital. He tells you he has done nothing his whole life except try to become the kind of man his daughter could be proud of. And now it's going to end here at 31,000 feet, because of turbulence he didn't choose. You want to give him the parachute right there. It would be the easy thing, the obviously human thing. But then the surgeon steps up behind him, and she doesn't beg. She states facts, cold and precise, the way she does in an operating room when panic helps nobody. She tells you she has 3 surgeries scheduled this week that no other doctor in her hospital is qualified to perform. Real people with real names who will die on a table with nobody able to save them if she isn't the one holding the scalpel. Suddenly, the math isn't one man's love against a baby's future. It's one father against dozens of future patients who don't even know they need her yet. You feel the plane shudder. The engineer's calculations, his, not yours, tell you the fuselage stress is accelerating faster than predicted. You don't have 4 minutes anymore. You have less. You think weighing love against duty was impossible. Level 3 is about to show you it gets so much worse. While the adults argue, plead, and posture, the teenage boy says nothing at all. He sits by the window, hands folded, watching the wings shudder against the storm like it's already decided his fate for him. When you finally ask him directly, because his silence is somehow louder than everyone else's noise, he tells you he isn't going to fight for the parachute. He says his grandmother raised him after his parents died. She's the only family he has left, and she's dying in a hospital bed right now, waiting for him to walk through the door one more time. He says if he doesn't make it, at least he'll have tried. He says the father should take it. He says a baby needs a parent more than an old woman needs a grandson she might not even recognize anymore. You feel something crack in your chest that has nothing to do with the aircraft. Because now it's not 5 adults arguing for their own lives. It's a child offering his up voluntarily, and somehow that's harder to hear than any argument for saving him. The flight attendant, 22 years old, watches this exchange in silence. And then she says something that changes everything. She says she'll never forgive herself if a child dies because the adults couldn't decide fast enough. She says put her name last. You think sacrifice would make this simpler. Level 4 proves that even selflessness has a price nobody's ready to pay. The retired engineer has been quiet, running numbers in his head the way he's done his entire career. When he finally speaks, it isn't to plead for his life. It's to tell you something that reshapes the entire decision. He says the stress fractures aren't random. He recognizes the pattern from bridge failures he investigated decades ago. And based on what he's seeing outside that window, this aircraft has at most 90 seconds before the wing separates entirely. Not 4 minutes. Not 2. 90 seconds. Which means there's no more time for debate. No more time for grand speeches about who deserves to live more. There's time for one decision, made in silence by you alone, because you're the only person in this cabin trained to make split-second calls under catastrophic pressure. He tells you plainly, whoever you choose now and choose fast, because indecision kills all 6 of you, and at least a decision saves one. You realize the terrible irony. The man best equipped to help you decide is the one person who's just told you, quietly, that his knowledge won't save him. He's not asking for the parachute. He's begging you to stop wasting the time you don't have. You think the ticking clock was already unbearable. Level 5 is where the countdown becomes the only voice left in the cabin. 90 seconds. You look at the father, photo still trembling in his hand. You look at the surgeon, jaw locked, refusing to break. You look at the boy, who has already made peace with an ending he shouldn't have to face at 17. You look at the flight attendant, who volunteered to go last without a second of hesitation. You look at the engineer who just handed you the truth instead of a plea. 5 people. 1 parachute. 90 seconds. You grab the parachute pack off the floor. Your hands are steadier than you expect. Training taking over where emotion should be screaming the loudest. You call out a name. The cabin goes silent except for the wind tearing through a widening crack near the wing root. Whoever you chose straps in, moves to the door, and you feel the aircraft groan one final time beneath you. A sound like the whole sky is holding its breath. The door opens. Cold air floods the cabin. And in that instant, before anyone jumps, you realize the 4 people you didn't choose are looking at you not with hatred, but with something worse. Understanding. They know why you picked who you picked. And that's the part you'll carry for the rest of your life, however long that turns out to be. There is no version of this choice where you walk away clean. Save the father, and a hospital loses the surgeon who could have saved dozens. Save the surgeon, and a newborn grows up without a parent who loved her before she could even say his name. Save the boy, and a grandmother dies alone anyway, without ever knowing he tried. Save the flight attendant who begged to go last, and you spend the rest of your life wondering if selflessness should have been rewarded with survival, not sacrifice. Every answer is right. Every answer is also unforgivable. So here's the question you need to sit with. If you were the one holding that parachute, who would you have chosen? And could you have lived with yourself afterward? Tell me in the comments. I want to know what you would have done.